Welcome to episode 173 of the Campus Comics Cast. And if you hate hearing the sound of my voice, then this previews episode is one for you because I don't have a lot to say about this catalog. My name is Scott Reed, and I am joined on this episode by
Mike Atchison
and Chad Schubert.
And let's talk about that for just a second. Okay, it used to be that I would have 3, 4, sometimes 5 pages of notes for stuff that I would find in the various catalog. And I am literally today, my page count is 1 for what I would recommend or what I want to mention, that's coming out in what will be February of 2024 from the Next Phase catalog. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on, I think your recommendations are declining as well. So do you have any thoughts on that decline?
I do. I think I'm in a similar situation with you, Scott. I normally have 2 pages and I have just 1, and it's becoming closer to 1 for the last couple months. And I think we've even mentioned before we start recording, well, I don't have much this month. We've done that for, I bet, 3 or 4 months now. And I don't think my searching style has changed. I just think what is interesting me or what has interested me in the past isn't there. I see with the big 2, I see the stunts and the gimmicks that sort of are meant to get that, get the readers in for a short period of time, but not really keep you around for long. Normally, I've been probably buying more independent stuff in the last couple of years, and even there, I'm having a hard time finding something that I both like the premise, or I recognize the writer or the creators, or the art. Just in a preview, I can see that the art is something that I like. There's a lot of things missing an ingredient for me. 1 or more ingredients, and I think it's at a point where I think as customers and as fans, we have to at some point kind of vote with our wallet and just kind of make choices that instead of just going through the same habits of, well, I'm going to get me 2 or 3 image books this month just because that's what I do. So I don't know, I can't put any more much of a point on it than that, except I don't see the quality that I used to.
Shad, what about you? Have you noticed anything that's causing a change in your recommendations from the catalog?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I go through, and I am the indie guy of the group for the most part. And I mean, this month I've got 1 image title, and that was like my entire conversation.
See, I have 2 image titles. I have 2 image titles.
Yeah, so. And that's so yeah. So you go through, and I think it has a lot to do with there's just a little bit of burnout there, in that there's the lack of the trying something and getting burned more than often. And so we try we recommend a lot of books, and we don't just recommend them and not buy them. We recommend them and we buy a lot of them. And then it comes down to it, we go, well, shoot, I got 3 issues into that and it was kind of trash, or it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then it makes us want to recommend less and less and less throughout that as well. And the other part of it is I feel like I think this is a good thing, but we're getting a lot more previews pages. It feels like now, like preview pages of a book, which makes us make a decision. Maybe that's not for me. I don't like the way that writer is delivering. I don't like the way that artwork looks. And when I didn't get interiors, I just kind of was flying off of the cover.
Yeah.
So that's something, we're a more informed buyer at that point, which makes us not recommend something, or would not want to buy something, which is an interesting kind of back way of things happening for the comics industry. And then the other part of it is, it feels as though, yeah, I agree with Mike. There's a missing ingredient somewhere in there that, I don't know if it's that there's too many books on the shelves. I would love to live in a world where I could get the entire main DC catalog in in 5 or less books, and kind of get what was going on. And it makes me wonder, like, what is that strategy to have more books that nobody wants to buy versus having 5 or 6 books with really good creators? And I get that makes it to where we're giving less jobs to artists and less jobs to writers, but at the same time, wouldn't it be more profitable for these companies to sell double the amount of these 6 issues than to sell half as many of the 12 issues, because you have less overhead in that? So I don't know that those are just a few things that kind of come to mind for me when I'm looking at them. Like, I'm not interested in these, or I go, I've been burned too many times. And as Ash was saying, don't let me buy another DC crossover. they're not as good as they want to be, or people are struggling to figure out how to have their cake and eat it too when it comes to maintaining the history of these characters while also being able to create all new something in the midst of it. So yeah, it's interesting.
I'm going to put a little bit of the blame on digital, because I'm not getting physical copies of these catalogs anymore. And when you would sit down, you had to sit down and take time to actually literally flip through the pages. And now, not so much with Next Phase. I think it's actually because Next Phase on the digital version, you see all the text, but there's only like one book a page, Whereas the old on the Pullbox site, if you want to read the blurb about the book, you got to click it, right? So it's like, okay, is that interesting me enough for me to even click on the picture to read the first paragraph? And a lot of times it's not. So I gotta feel like that the fact that I'm going through these catalogs digitally is actually impacting the amount that I am recommending. I don't know why. It doesn't seem like it should.
It's fair.
And then another thing that's happening is like, okay, I don't remember seeing in this month's either any of these catalogs Matt Kent's name, for example. All right, so Matt Kent's a pretty prolific writer and artist, and well, he's doing so much stuff with Bad Idea that, like, he's got a Kickstarter right now called Save Now. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but anyway, it's like, so that's not even in these catalogs. So there's all of these books that are being put out through alternate methods like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. They're not even showing up in these catalogs. So a lot of the creators that have the following to kind of do this on their own, to Taylor Swift it, I guess.
Yeah.
They're going to alternate methods because they can make more money, selling through some other third party and not using Lunar or Diamond to get their books out. So, and I guess the other thing about it too is, like, I'm looking at the Marvel catalog. I'm generally consider myself a Marvel guy. I read more Marvel books each month than I do even the independent stuff. And like, Marvel's just regurgitating ideas from like the past. It's like we're back to the Ultimate Universe for a good portion of they got rid of the Ultimate Universe with, Secret War, and now it's coming back. So it's just like, so it's like, give me some fresh ideas. So, or even just some good story writing in our, current universe. But no, they're focusing in on a new Black Panther and a new Spider-Man, and I don't know. It just kind of is irritating. So I don't know. I'm going to primarily blame digital, because like I said, I'm reading as much as or more than I ever have on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just not talking about it. And I guess it's a lot of, I'm just keep buying Captain America, and I keep buying Batman, and I keep buying, some of the same books. So, and we usually don't talk about the books that we're buying every single month, because, well, then we're just stuck records talking about, oh, guess what?
Right.
I'm buying Captain America again this month, or I'm buying whatever. So I don't know. So I don't think it's any lack of desire to talk about the catalog. I think it's just, I don't know, I'm just having a little harder time just finding the stuff that I'm looking for. So
yeah.
All right, you guys got any last thoughts before we actually dig into a catalog here?
I had a couple, if they haven't escaped my mind again. One is, earlier this week I was thinking about, maybe it's a sign of the times for me, being the DC guy, that we've gone this long without a Justice League book. That's always been my mainstay for 40 years. And other than the gimmicky Justice League, Godzilla and Kong, or the Dinosaur League, or whatever they were, Jurassic League. I feel like that's, I feel like that is kind of indicative of the way things are. I do think you're right that the catalog is taking. I mean, not being able to look at a physical catalog. I used to have the physical, and I could take my time. I'd either sit in my chair or I'd be on a plane or whatever I'm doing, and I could actually take more time instead of sitting in front of the computer. I had one more point, but it's escaping me. I just think it's I don't think it's not fair to expect readers to settle for less. There's going to have to be more work. Maybe that means they have to pay creators more. Maybe you have to get back some of the big names and the ones that can produce like that, whatever that takes. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right, next phase. So hey, Free Comic Book Day, May 6th. They have 2023. I just noticed that.
Oh,
They forgot to change the date to 2024. They did it on both pages. So
Nice.
we're getting a Mad magazine Free Comic Book Day book from DC, and then getting the Energon universe, which I guess that has something to do with Transformers, since Optimus Prime is up in the corner. That's sarcasm. Sorry, if that wasn't clear. I do know that Energon has something to do with Transformers. I know it's hard to tell my sarcastic voice from my regular voice because but
don't worry, listeners, that's all of us.
But we'll talk more about the Free Comic Book Day stuff at the end, because they actually had a bunch on the pull box side of some of the Free Comic Book Day books. So
okay,
I'll have everybody pull that up. We'll kind of talk about some of the ones that interest us. So I don't know, anything else on those Free Comic Book Days other than the lack of detail?
Right. Not even cover images at all.
No, yeah. Page 6, you have from Ahoy the final issue of Project Cryptid. Finally getting a cryptids that I believe I have actually heard of. So Chupacabra. And then I assume we're talking about Bigfoot at the other one, since the joke is big shoes to fill.
Right. Yeah.
That is the final issue of Project Cryptid from Ahoy Comics, and it is apparently the only book from Ahoy Comics this month. So
yeah.
And then I don't have anything till we get into DC.
Same.
I did earmark you and I almost said U of I, University of Illinois. Yeah. Mostly because it's got J. Michael Straczynski on the writing. He does a lot of stuff with AWA, if I'm not mistaken, and Mike Choi on illustrations. It looks good. It's more of a love story, it looks like, than anything. But it's got, well, I mean, they're on the cover. It looks like they've been shot, so I guess there'll be some violence or some action. But I'll probably get this because, again, there was enough there.
Well, did you read Resistance?
Oh no,
so
you're right.
This is tied into another universe of JMS. Now, it's not a whole lot to go back and pick up, and I'm sure that the trade is easily available or get it digital. But I feel like you're going to have to know some of the backstory from what's already established in this universe. So just kind of an FYI on that.
Yeah, good point. Maybe
I don't mean to rain on your parade. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's my typical parade. So no.
Anything else from AWA?
Okay, so you remember that month that we reviewed the catalogs, and there was like 3 books that were, for some reason, it caught my eye, and Red Light was one of them.
Okay.
And it's everything I thought it would be. So definitely, not safe for work, etc. And but I just.
So you actually picked this up?
I did, yeah.
Oh wow.
I did, yeah. It's. Yeah,
I just thought you were talking about it.
Oh no, I got it. It's titillating. Capital T.
Oh wow. Okay. Hey, and it was the final issue of that solicited. So.
Yeah.
Anything from CEX? Anybody want to talk about anything CEX?
How long have they been around? I don't even really remember too much from them.
At least a few months. Because
it's like,
we talked about them. I can't remember what book it was. Several next phases ago that we mentioned them, and I don't remember what book it was. So.
They've been around at least since I've been on the show.
Oh, okay. So a little while.
Yeah, because I remember going through them. I hadn't really heard of them before going through the whole previous catalog, but that was new to me then.
Yeah. I think they're just a small part of previews, but they're a little bit more to the fore
Yeah.
in this catalog.
Yeah, well, because they do alphabetical, so
The alphabet is in their favor.
Yes, it is. Not going to talk about Terry and the Pirates, Mike?
No.
No, okay.
I've been informed I can't have any more hardbacks on the shelf, so I'm abstaining.
You're gonna skip right that. All right. So page 28 in Next Phase, which is page 1 in the DC catalog, we get not 1, not 2, but 3 Batman books. So we're back to the multiple books per month on Batman. Hopefully this is just a 1 month anomaly. But we're basically getting the complete Joker Year 1 story written by Chip Zdarsky. So it's going to be a 3-parter and take place in February.
Do we believe it's the official origin of the Joker?
Oh.
Well, it's what he remembers this time, So.
Yeah.
I said they're always going to fall back to that, and they always can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I haven't been picking up Batman for the last couple of months, but I did mark it down for this 3-issue weekly story. I think probably just my curiosity got the best of me because, recently we read Killing Joke. Recently, I've read the 3 Jokers or that. So I'm curious to see where this fits into all that, but
I have still been buying Batman and reading it. I'm behind several months, but it's what's bad is I buy them physical and read them digital, and for some reason, like when I go into the DC app, it does, when there's a new issue of Batman, it doesn't float it to the top for me. It's like it should just be right there. Continue reading Batman.
Right.
New issue.
Yeah.
It should be your face, blinking, flashing. And I have to remember to go in there. Of course, I've been reading Batgirl and now I've been reading Detective. So
the app is a little lacking sometimes in how sophisticated it could be.
And you see these jump back in. I think, oh, there's a new issue of Peacemaker, and I go click on it, and it's the same issue I read last. It's like, well, so I guess I'll wait another month and see what happens. So, okay, Mike, I got to ask you, and you may not know the answer to this. On page 31, which is 4 in the DC catalog, we have Sinister Sons #1. Are these new characters, or do these characters previously exist?
I don't know for a fact. They're new to me.
Okay.
I can't say that I've read every Green Lantern issue to know whether or not Sinestro had a son. I do not believe that General Zod had a son. So my inkling is that this is just fabricated out of thin air for the sake of, I don't know. Tomasi's famous for his Super Sons run, which was very good, but I have no interest in reading a little, this is non-explicit, isn't it, Scott? Little turds like these guys. And then I looked at the art and then I was really put off. So I'm like, no, I could draw better than that. So.
All right. So you're not for sure then. Okay. I was just curious if these were new characters or not. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I thought you meant, am I not for sure buying it? Yeah, I'm not for sure.
No, not for sure they're new characters. And I figure how long it's going to be before there's a crossover between the Sinister Sons and the Super Sons.
Absolutely.
How many issues before they meet, is the question. So.
Well, it'd be kind of hard because they aged up Jonathan Kent.
Well, they're still the Super Sons though.
Yeah, but I wish they wouldn't have done it anyway, but it was, they worked well, him and Damian at the same age. Yeah. What was that called? The Sinister Sons?
Sinister Sons, yeah. So you've got, was it Sin Sun? That's a little on the nose for Sinestro's son.
Yeah.
And you have Lor Zod for General Zod's son. So.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're
previously existing.
No, nothing I can find on the interwebs.
Yeah, I didn't care enough to look. I was just hoping you might know.
Yeah. I kind of seen all of this and ran.
And those are the only two things I have in the DC catalog are Batman and Sinister Son. So you guys take
Oh.
it away.
Okay.
I got page 37 in the next phase book, which is the Batman the Brave and the Bold number 10. We don't talk about this book don't talk about it often. I'd read my notes and I slipped up. But I almost actually started reading issue 1 on the app the other night because I was like, I should start reading this. And they're starting up Gotham Academy. So if you were into Gotham Academy when it was out, they've got a new story going on in there. They've got a black and white story if you're into the whole Batman black and white side of things. So it seems like it's a cool little cornucopia of Batman activities happening every month in there. And my goal is before the next previews to try to read issue 1 and see how I actually feel about it.
Okay. What page was that on?
That was on 37.
Okay.
10 in the DC catalog.
Gotcha. I'm trying to do both. I'm on 39 in the big catalog with Birds of Prey 6.
Okay.
I think this is ongoing. Sometimes they're a little bit coy about letting us know. I wanted to pick this up because Kelly Thompson is a writer I enjoy. We'll talk about it when we do our next episode when we talk about what we've been reading. And she did this series, I think it's under Image, called The Cull. I said series, and Siri thought I said, "Hey Siri." Oh gosh, it's actually calling somebody. So Kelly Thompson, I thought, okay, I really liked her work on that series, The Cull, and I like the Birds of Prey. I've always liked that premise of the all-girl team. Like you, Scott, though, I remember you asking a couple months ago, does Barda really fit in? I can tell you after reading the first 3 issues, no, it's not. It's not just her. It is partly. It's not just her presence, but the way she acts. She's kind of talks strangely, like almost like a Solomon Grundy. She speaks to Cassandra Cain by saying, she calls her little bat all the time. Like, I'm big like this and I can only talk in 1-syllable words. And I thought that's a very bad characterization of a pretty nuanced character like Barda. And
well, maybe she's trying to talk to Cassandra Cain in a way she'll understand, since she's,
No. Okay.
No. Okay.
Maybe, but no.
No.
Then there's a couple other characters I'm not familiar with. One's called Meridian, sort of got warping and time travel powers, and another one called Vengeance or some strange name like that. I forget the name of it now. But anyway, the ones are Black Canary, Harley Quinn, and Cassandra Cain, Batgirl. They're the ones that seem to really fit. The rest of them, jury's still out. I thought the one that was, I can't think of the name of, I thought she was Katana, but she's not. So
I think she's a Wildstorm character, just from the look of the cover.
I remember there being a Wildstorm one when they announced it. Yeah,
on the left with the sword. I think the Wildstorm's character. So
okay, yeah,
and it should be Vengeance, because isn't that Bane's daughter?
Yeah, it's something like an adjective or anyway. It's not bad. I think the artwork reminds me. It's kind of like Cliff Chang light. I think the style is Cliff Chang, but I don't know that it's as dynamic as what his work was that I'm familiar with. So I'm still picking it up, but a little tentatively.
All you guys.
On 41, which is 14 in the catalog, is we got another origin story that we've never heard before for Poison Ivy on Poison Ivy 19. So if you are wanting to know about Secret Origins, we got a Joker Year 1, we got a Poison Ivy Secret Origin, we got all the new origins for you this month.
I've got Batman First Night, and I'm trying to find the page of it because, here it is. It's by Dan Jurgens, and this is way back on 57 with art by Mike Perkins. So I know that they're two established creators. It seems to be a set back in 1939, and more of his his stories whenever he was first came out as Batman. Again, I've really only earmarked because there were a couple of recognizable talents, and the art looks really good. Perkins's art always does. So that's really the last of the DC for me.
I thought that was a cool concept and something that was like this could be a way for them to restart some of these characters, or not even restart them, but to have this kind of run of taking the modern take on and going back in time with it though, and kind of
Mhm.
starting it fresh like this Batman. You could do it with a lot of the other characters, it seems like, and would feel as though it's a new take, even though it's kind of rehashing something. And that's kind of what people seem to want, is like something that seems like it's new, but it's really just something you've seen before already. So
Mhm.
I was kind of like, all right, I'm curious to see how far this goes, and if it just ends up being a I don't even know if it says how many issues,
It's
3 issues.
3, yeah, one of
Yeah.
3 Prestige Plus, so it's one of the bigger. It's the oversized magazine size. So that also, I've bought a lot of those over the past several years now. Still behind on reading most of them, but I do buy them.
And you're going, where do I store these?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, I'm done with DC.
All right, Mike, you done with DC?
Yes, I am.
All right, well, my next thing's not until Image, so which is like 108.
Yeah.
So you guys got anything drawn in quarterly or distillery or?
No, I think Image is it for me.
I picked up that first distillery book. What was it called?
Was it Gone?
No, Cutting Devil's Cut.
Oh, Devil's Cut. Yeah.
Which is just a bunch of anthology stories.
Mm-hmm.
Read that. It's okay. I have Gone. I haven't read it yet, but I'm not particularly impressed with anything that that distillery's doing here. So there's nothing, doesn't seem to be that fresh to me. So
Yeah, I agree. I was actually thinking about that this past month because I had to get their emails and everything too, and I thought, well, this was going to be like a cool thing. They really, the way they set it up and advertised for it, and they don't even have a new title. I think this is the second month that they don't have a new title.
Yeah.
On there, and it's like, oh, okay, they had the one shot anthology, they had Gone, and then they have that Blasphemous or whatever, Blasphemous, or
and then Somna with that.
yeah, Insomnia, and like, and that's all they've got going on, and they really haven't continued with that, and yeah, I also I'm not impressed by what they're doing there.
That's like the downside of all the creator owned and creator published stuff, is that you're the one who's pushing yourself to put it out. And if you decide, I just don't feel like working today,
yeah,
you're not answering anybody else, So
you're self-employed at that point. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I just think that affects, publication time, and it's I don't know. I had some higher expectations. I'm like you, and now when I get those emails, I'm just like, yeah. It just doesn't do much for me. So I need to read Gone though before I make a final decision. I just haven't done it yet. So
I noticed that the last email was that they were setting up their digital store to where you could read digitally from them specifically, and they were selling Gone #1 for 99 cents.
Oh, well, I should do that. I'll read it more quickly if I were to read it digital. So
right.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Anything before 108? Anybody want to talk about the cabinet from Image?
The cabinet didn't get me, but 102 is the Infernals, and that had kind of interested me a little bit. It's the son of Satan, of course. That's where I'm going. I'm like, it's got Satan in it. I must be interested. Who has a month to live and has to pick a successor between his 3 children. It's kind of it's a whole like kind of devil story, but set up in like a Godfather-y succession type of situation, and so it just seemed interesting. It was the only book in Image that I found dark and interesting to me, because that's normally where I go towards.
So back on 101, they say the legendary. This is Dutch #1. The legendary '90s super soldier returns. I don't remember this guy.
Okay, if I don't know that I recall. I don't recall from reading anything myself, but I remember hearing it on another podcast or online or something that about it wasn't this series, it was its predecessor that was sort of it was basically, like it says here in the solicit, a 90s superhero trying to recapture his I don't know, his heyday.
Yeah.
I think that is what this is. I don't remember what the
So that's just the premise. It's not actually a character from 30 years ago that they are reintroducing. It's a modern take on like an old guy trying to get his groove
No, it's
back.
real.
Okay, so it is? Okay. All right.
Yeah. There's it's a very, looks like a very Image 90s character.
Okay.
It was very
that
tongue in cheek and intentionally like trying to make it 90s. That's what I remember hearing.
Looks like it's young. Maybe it was in Youngbloods, or Youngblood was where
Okay.
he was out of.
I know Joe Casey. Joe Casey did some great work back in the early 2000s. I don't know Simon Gain, and I can't say that the art's blown me away, but
No.
I do like Casey.
And Chap Yep is the original creator. That was the only way that I was like, this must be real, because it talks about a variant cover by the original creator of Dutch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and there wasn't a title called Dutch.
No, I think it's out of Youngblood is what it seems like from what I'm reading.
Yeah.
And I did a search on Key Collector just for Dutch, and like the only thing that shows up is Flying Dutchman. There's not even a entry for Dutch. So okay.
Nice.
I'm with you though, Shad, on Infernals. I don't get every horror comic that comes about, but I did like sort of the demonic aspect to it, and the art looks fantastic. So
yeah,
I'm not sure, but didn't they say here that this is the artist that did Department of Truth?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I liked. Well, he went kind of extreme in Department of Truth, but he's got a tinge of that here. But it's enough that or not so much that it doesn't put me off.
Definitely. Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
I'm right there on 108 with the one hand. Are you guys both looking at that?
Yeah. So 108 along with 113. Because you have the one hand and then the six fingers. So you have Ram V on 108, and you have on 113, the writer is Dan Waters. And I guess they're telling the same story from two different viewpoints. So when you talk about these two books, you kind of have to talk about them together. We've been, we talked about Ram V a little bit, I guess, before we started recording. But this is like the one thing inside of Image that has me intrigued, and I feel like, well, if you buy one, you got to buy them both.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, and what was funny is when I looked at this the first time, I glanced over the solicit and I saw Neo Novena for fans of Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell, and you scroll down to the Six Fingers and you see Neo Novena, and for fans of, I thought they messed up and they put the exact same solicit in those two books, and no, it actually is by design that is the case. So this is, and the whole reference to Black Mirror is what has me intrigued. So I guess that's one way to get me to buy a book is say Blade Runner and Black Mirror, and I'll take my money. So and the preview looks decent. So anything else to add on those two?
I didn't have it written down here, but the very next page is Creepshow. It's a special Creepshow issue with Joe Hill's Wolverton Station. Now, I picked up the first volume of Creepshow, I think it was a year ago it came out, and it was a pretty decent anthology. I'm sure Shad picked them up too. Do you remember? Did you get those last year or no?
No, I'm not a real Creepshow guy.
Oh, okay. Well, it reminded me the idea of having little 8-page or so horror stories. Reminded me of being a kid reading House of Mystery or House of Secrets or whatever, and it was good. I mean, as usual, you have some stories are better than others, but then anyway, they got this one shot, and it's by Joe Hill, who's he's made quite the name for himself, and I might pick it up. I haven't made up my mind yet.
For a guy who spent most of his career trying to not ride on his dad's coattails,
Yeah.
he seems to be heavily riding on his dad's coattails all of a sudden.
Well, at least it doesn't say Joe Hill in parentheses, Stephen King's son.
Yeah. Just shy. I think I am actually done with the Next Phase catalog.
Whoa.
Yeah. So what else do you guys have from Next Phase?
I'm on 189. I don't know where you're at.
That's pretty far down.
Since I don't have, I was going off the Image catalog by itself, but I did earmark Void Rivals Volume 1 trade paperback. So whatever catalog that's on, I got the first 2 issues. It's funny, Shad, because I've picked up the one with you down at Heroes Con. Then I decided, I've read it. You want it, take it. Then I went around and bought another one. So and then I bought issue 2, but then I just fell off again. So now I'm like, I think maybe I'll get the trade and just maybe delve into that. But
that's on page 138 of the Next Phase catalog.
So I'm not too far away from that. So okay. Yep. Okay. No, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. But I don't have, unless Scout is in this catalog, but I'm not sure if it is. Let's see.
I don't remember seeing Scout, but
it says my notes say 233. Let me scroll.
It must be. Maybe.
Well, while you're scrolling, I don't talk about. We talked about books that we don't really ever talk about books that we are reading and how they come out. But I did want to bring up What's the Furthest Place from Here, number 18. From Image, page 176. It is still one of my favorite books that is out on a regular. If there's one book I read every month, it's What's Furthest Place from Here. This is ending one of their story arcs, and so I am caught up to. I think 16 is the next one that comes out on the shelves. But yeah, I love this book, and is made me a really big fan of Matt Rosenberg's writing, Tyler Boss's art, and I've picked up all of their indie stuff that they've done. I haven't got to read it all, but I've got it on my shelf. All their stuff. Tyler Boss did Dead Dog's Bite, was the book that he did, wrote and drew on that one. And then Matt Rosenberg does a lot of stuff for DC. Does all like the DC vampire stuff and everything that I stayed away from, but I'm like, he's a really good writer and I do enjoy it. So maybe it's not as hokey as it seems on the surface.
Sounds him.
Yeah. So he's definitely just to talk about something that isn't an issue 1 or anything like that on that side.
So I found what I had marked down here, and it was for you, Shad. It wasn't for me.
Oh.
It was on 223, not 233. The Secret History of Black Punk. So it's one of those music related comics, and I can't say that I've ever heard of black punk as a genre or subgenre. So anyway, I thought of you when I seen it, and I didn't know if you've seen it or not.
I did, yeah. I was, and then actually I saw an article about black punk not too long within the last month. Like I think it was after this came out, and it was like, okay, I need to learn a little bit more about the. And it's not a necessarily as much a subgenre it is just there's a whole culture of black people who got into punk and maybe even were really the forefathers of punk music before what we know of, like the Ramones and all of that side of things. So, and yeah, it's definitely interesting. Music history is really
this
cool.
This catalog is most of the books solicited are coming out in Black History Month on February.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I had, so on 189 coming out of Oni Press, I had Cemetery Kids Don't Die. This is a 4-issue miniseries set in the future where kids can play video games in their sleep. And this group of kids that go by, they're called the Cemetery Kids. They play this certain game called Nightmare Cemetery. And then they have one night where they're playing the game and one of the kids doesn't wake up from his video gaming. And that's kind of where the story kicks off. So I thought there's not a there wasn't a ton, like we talked about, of things. This was one that kind of caught my eye as far as the story premise. And in a world where video games are kind of where most people have their focus, it makes sense that comics needs to kind of look at that and go, we could write a story about video games a little bit.
I'm really surprised there's not more comics based on video games. I know there are some, but not as many as I would have expected over the years.
Well, I can tell you why. Because generally they suck.
They don't have to.
They shouldn't, but they generally do. It's just how it is. So they're just not particularly good. So
I'm still waiting on that Duke Nukem comic. I mean, that was my favorite.
And then my last thing in the Next Phase catalog is on 210 is coming from Scout, and it is the Divine Power Made Me #1. It's about a victim of a fanatical cult who's confronted with a horror adventure through the afterlife. And really, more than anything, the A cover caught my eye. There's this like weird owl-faced creature that's like burning a church, and there's just a bunch of people that look like they're in a cult standing in front of it. And I was like, this story looks messed up just from the cover. So sounds like exactly what I would read.
On to Marvel. I'll try not to forget it. I'll try not to forget it this time, since I have skipped it once or twice. So, and it's almost probably should be skipped because there's just not a whole lot here either. Because there's almost nothing new unless you're into the Rebirth of the Ultimates universe. Other than that, it's pretty much everything is just kind of the ongoings are continuing. So I really don't have anything to even mention until page 20. So go.
Yeah, that's it for me.
I just earmarked the Ultimate Black Panther on page 2. I don't have much more to say about it than that, except it's a good character, and maybe it's one Ultimate version I have not read, and it's not me bringing it up here is no obligation on my part to buy it. So I can just, that's all I can say about it. It's
the Ultimates Black Panther is different than the 616 Black Panther. In the original Ultimates, Black Panther was wounded and couldn't speak. So just a little different take on the character, but I don't think there was I don't remember there being an Ultimate Black Panther book, and really the only thing I read was there was a Captain America annual where Black Panther shows up in it. So not a lot to say there. It's tough for the writers when the character isn't verbal to do something with the character. It's a challenge, so it takes a good writer.
Definitely.
Page 20, we have Wolverine Madripoor Knights. This is one of 5. Not for sure why they're focusing in on Wolverine instead of the other characters that are there with Wolverine, which is Captain America and Black Widow. But Chris Claremont, I think, is the reason why we're mentioning this, is the writer. He did something else. I can't remember what it was. But this book is also probably the reason why we're getting a facsimile of X-Men 268, which is also later in the catalog.
I like the idea of this book was definitely like, this is a book I would pick up from Marvel. It's 5 issues. It's got characters I like. It seems like it's going to be kind of a self-contained story. I like Claremont's writing. I was actually excited about this one.
Have you read the X-Men 268? I think it's 268.
Is that what that's what this kicks off of? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That was back had like one of Jim Lee's like earliest X-Men covers, and let's see, where is that? I'm looking for the facsimile of that. I know it's here. It's on it's on page 60 I don't know if the page numbers match up, but it's on page 60 in the Marvel catalog. They had some weird facsimiles. It's like the first appearance of the Rose. It's like, okay. A Secret Wars facsimile. Okay. And then this X-Men 268 facsimile. So,
and that one made sense.
Mm-hmm. So, and there's a special foil version as well.
Ooh.
I'm done with Marvel. I don't have anything else for Marvel.
Same.
I wanted to mention on 33 is Amazing Spider-Man 44, which is the end of Gang War.
Oh, thank goodness.
I always like to mention when a non-stop crossover ends more than when it starts. And then on page 69 is Star Wars Mace Windu #1, which is a prequel 4-issue for Mace Windu, written by Mark Bernardin and art by Georges Jonti. And like both of those creators, so I thought that was would be a cool book, and especially coming out in Black History Month, and both of those creators being black would be a good book to pick up.
All right, we ready for pull box?
I think so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we just gonna round robin this one. I've only got two things, so
I only have 5.
5. Okay, well, what about you, Mike? How many pull box items do you have?
I've got probably half a dozen. Or no,
Oh, okay.
yeah, about a half dozen. Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys do 2 apiece, then I'll do 1.
Okay.
Just don't take mine. Don't take mine.
Okay. Try not to. I'll do my 2 picks from Dark Horse because they're just both nicely wrapped up in there. One of them is Ghostbusters Back in Town #1. This is a book that is the gap between Ghostbusters Afterlife and the new sequel. So if you're into Ghostbusters, there's a little story for you there. And then there's a book called Helen of Windhorn, #1, and this is Tom King and Bilquis Evely back together after their Woman of Tomorrow story. And it says that it's Conan the Barbarian meets Wizard of Oz. And so I like them two as a creative team. That was, I think, one of our favorite books of the last year that we read together, and to have them back, that's something I want to keep an eye out for.
You're gonna do 2, right, Chad? Because I'm still looking for mine.
Oh,
that was 2.
Oh, that was 2.
Come on,
okay.
Mike.
I can't even look up a page number here because we're looking on the pull box. So I'm just going to go by my notes. So
that's fine.
I picked up from Titan a couple months ago, started picking up the Conan the Barbarian. And I read the first issue and I liked it. So I'm going to get Savage Sword of Conan #1. The second one is basically this book called Golden Age Classics, Black Condor and the Ray. So it's these quality characters from the 40s. It's reprints of their adventures back then. I know earlier I said my wife said no more hardcovers, but I'll fit in somewhere. So that's
She's right behind you.
Oh, great.
All right, so my one, this is from IDW. All right, I missed this last month. Is Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventure 2. So they have a second series of this. And I think the reason that I missed it is because they're instead of putting Dungeons and Dragons, they're putting D&D. So like when I searched for it, I didn't find it. I didn't order the first issue. And I also missed, there was a one shot between the 2 series that I missed. So yeah. So again, me not having a physical copy of a catalog and flipping through and seeing that maybe caused me to miss these books. So now that being said, I read the first 2 issues of the first series. It's not good, but I'm still going to buy this because I'm apparently a masochist, and I will continue to read it as I get the time. So.
All right, for my next 2 picks, I've got there's a book called Fall Through. It's a graphic novel written and drawn by Nate Powell, who did a book called Any Empire that I really enjoyed, another book called Swallow Me Whole. And he does a lot of they're all graphic novels. He doesn't seems like a lot of single issue stuff. And then he's done the March books. I don't know if anybody's seen those. Those are probably the most prolific ones that I've seen around, but I've never read them. But this new book is about a punk band from 1994 that can interdimensionally time travel. So I was a little bit of the most of the things he's done has been very grounded, and anything that is not grounded about it is more has to do with introspective of the character and kind of coping with any kind of issue that they have by imagining things around them. So the fact that he's got a time travel punk band seems like something a little different for Nate Powell, from at least what I've read. And then the other one, keeping the rock and roll theme, is there's a rock and roll biographies for Foo Fighters that you can pick up. So if you like the Foo Fighters, I like I end up getting a lot of the rock and roll biographies and stuff like that.
Are you getting the In Comics books, like the Prince In Comics and the Queen In Comics?
No, because honestly, I mean, if I'm being honest, the rock and roll ones are never even that great either. It's just more of it's more of a collector's thing than it is the art's not usually as subpar, and the writing is less than on all of those as well. So it's more of it's more for the cover. It's like, oh, it's a pretty cool cover for a band that I like.
Yeah, I think those kind of books do rely heavily on marketing and the power of certain names. I remember buying a novel, or not a novel, but a nonfiction about Van Halen and Sammy Hagar, specifically with Van Halen. And it was written by Sammy, or, at least in name, but
he was involved.
It was ghostwriter involved. It was awful. It was just awful. As much as I love their music, I was like, I can't even hardly read this book.
Yeah.
Okay, my last couple here are The Jaguar, and this is under.
Can you say that again?
What did I say it earlier?
I don't know. I just want to hear your pronunciation of the title.
Jaguar.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. It sounds like you're saying Jaguar.
Oh, I said a little bit too syllables, too distinct. The Jaguar. Yeah. That's a good name. You could JAG and then WIRE. Yeah.
That's our new band.
Jaguar. Yeah. There you go, Shad. Always looking for ideas. Anyway, the Jaguar, it caught my eye because I remember getting as a kid some of the Archie Red Circle books, and they were basically the superhero line for Archie. And Jaguar was right there with the Comet and the Shield, and I forget the other ones, but the Fly. Anyway, just nostalgia is driving me to maybe pick this up. That's, like I said, under Archie. Yeah. And then we have under Dark Horse, although it's not under. I am so confused. This was under the regular hodgepodge of all of the comics, but it says that it's a Dark Horse book. It's not. It wasn't under the Dark Horse section because all they had there were drinking glasses.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's The Legend of Luther Arkwright, and I'm not going to buy this because I already did, and I bought it because I thought I got it at a shop in Colchester, England. And the guy really highly recommended it. And I thought, I bet Shad would like this. Just reading the solicitation. But then I opened it up when I got home because it was vacuum sealed or whatever. It's black and white. I'm like, oh, shoot, Shad doesn't like black and white. So I want to read it. And then I'm going to give it to you, Shad.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
So, and then lastly, I know we were doing two, but I might as well go ahead and get the last one out of my system here, is Alter Ego by Two Morrows. And it is a spotlight on Edmund Hamilton. And this is a guy who wrote tons and tons of science fiction stories, not just for DC, but especially for DC, but he wrote a lot back in the days of those sci-fi magazines back in the 30s and 40s. And I've read a couple of his stories online that were under public domain, and very impressed with this guy. He was the writer on the whole Lightning saga with the Legion and Superboy. So anyway, got quite the resume, and I, as always, will look forward to picking up Alter Ego. It's number 187.
I'm just glad that Jaguar is not produced by Dark Horse, is all I'm going to say. My last one is also Two Morrows Publishing. This is the Pacific Comics Companion. This must have already been released once before, but I did not realize that Pacific Comics was only around for 4 years. I thought that they had stuck around a much longer period of time than that.
Oh, wow.
And another reason why I'm mentioning this is on this cover, they show the Rocketeer pulling away the cover. There's a bunch of covers underneath it. And I own or have owned the majority of the books that are on that are on that cover that they are showing. So I mean, there's Captain Victory and Silver Star, and of course the Rocketeer stuff, and Ms. Mystic, and some Elric of Melniboné, and all kinds of stuff. So I either currently have them or have had them in the very recent past. So I just thought that was kind of a cool book, and it wouldn't be a whole lot if there's only 4 years of books. You want to talk about being able to buy every book from one publisher? That's probably doable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because most of those are not going to be very expensive. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah. My last one I've got is The Adventures of the Gummy Bears, a New Beginning, Disney Afternoon Adventures Volume 4. I've been getting these hardcovers. They're really good presentations, and I don't know, they've made a choice to, like, Volume 1 was Darkwing Duck and Volume 2 was whatever, of naming them completely different as their, like, primary name, and then it's Disney Afternoon Adventures Volume whatever. But these are fantastic if you are nostalgia driven, as I am, for things that you had when you were a kid in the 90s. And the Disney Afternoon was a little magazine that you got, and it had like new shows that were coming out, interviews and everything, and it also had comic strips in them. And this collects all of those comic strips from all of those Disney Afternoon, all those little magazines that came out every month. And so this is volume 4 of that, and I am absolutely picking this up.
Excellent.
All right. So do you guys both have Pullbox website open?
Yeah.
Okay, so go all the way down to the bottom of the page. There's a merchandise section.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and if you expand the merchandise section, most of the free comic book day books for 2024, at least the ones that are known about at this time, are actually listed here. But I don't see the DC or the Marvel books.
Okay.
But I do see like the Image book, the Energon universe. So I just kind of real quick, just kind of scroll down through those and tell me which ones jump out at you, if there is anything. Like you have the new Doctor Who. I see that one. Hey, there's a Popeye.
Mm-hmm.
The Gotchman, which I know is Battle of the Planets.
I looked at that cover, and I didn't see the G because it's sort of stylized, and I thought it said Atchaman. I'm like, hey, that's my book. It's by Cullen Bunn too.
Yeah.
Let's see here. No,
It's a Young Jedi book. Oh, and it's got with Plants vs. Zombies. It's not a crossover. It's 2 books in one. But, which is good. I'm surprised that Valiant has a free comic book day book.
Right. Yeah.
How do you know it's free? One. Oh, I guess it's on the cover at the top. You got.
Well, it also says FCBD. Yeah. So free comic book day is in the title.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything jumping out at anybody?
I'd probably get the Popeye. That's interesting art there.
Yeah, a little different for Popeye.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to the Star Wars #1 that's on there. If that is we're getting a new Star Wars #1 out of everything, because it's about time for them to start working on, because the current Star Wars #1 run, or volume 3 of Marvel, if you want to call it that, has been between Empire and Return. And so it's about time for them to start working on the post-Return story. And so I'm guessing that Star Wars #1 on that free comic book day is that.
I'm not seeing that. Where's that at?
I don't know. It's under Marvel Comics, I guess.
Okay. See, I'm okay.
I couldn't get my dang page to load, so I just typed in FCBD and got.
Oh, okay. All right.
So sorry. Yeah, I got all crazy.
Yeah, like the one I'm seeing for Star Wars is the Young Jedi one.
Okay.
Bottom, not the one that's inside of Marvel. That's fine. Okay. All right. That's a good question.
I'm definitely gonna get Dying Inside from Vault, because that just looks like something I would probably read.
So anyway, if you are interested in the free comic book day books that should be out sometime first Saturday in May, then check the My Pullbox site. Go to the bottom, click merchandise, and you can see most of them. Then there's a few in Marvel, a few in DC as well. So, all right. do we have anything that we're looking forward to?
Yes.
Yes,
Maybe.
sort of, maybe. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the last thing that I listed off, that Adventures of the Gummy Bears, that afternoon Disney Afternoon collection. It looks great on my shelf. It's a hardcover, and I know Atch can't have any more, so I'll kind of rub it in his face that I'm going to buy another one.
Well, like any enabler, I'm sure you will help me by saying, Atch, if you buy a hardcover and can't store it at your house, you'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have it anytime you want. Just give me a call.
There you go. Yeah. I actually probably what I'm looking forward to most is the One Hand and the Six Fingers, those two coordinated miniseries. Hope I didn't take your pick.
Not for, well, yeah, no. I really, I mean, I'm probably more looking forward to the stuff that I'm reading regular than anything that we talked about in this episode, more so. So I don't, nothing's just striking me as something new that's like, man, I'm jacked to read that coming up. So, hopefully, I don't know, maybe the Batman 3 issues, since we're going to get that little year 1 story for Joker, if Zdarsky can do a good job. I'm a little soft on Zdarsky right now because he just hasn't been wowing me with Batman. So maybe he can turn it around here with this book. So I'm going to go with that. So, any investment picks?
Ooh, if I had to pick one, maybe that Helen of Windhorn #1 from Dark Horse, just because that Tom King, Bilquis Evely combo and the Woman of Tomorrow books are kind of hot. So if somebody's not paying attention and that book actually ends up being good, somebody might go, man, I can't believe I didn't pick up that team together again, and they had a really stellar book come out of Dark Horse. So that would be maybe a little sleeper hit there.
What was it called again?
Helen of Windhorn, but it's wind spelled with a Y.
I'm just going to search for Helen. So yeah, I just want to see it because I didn't even notice that whenever I was going through. So I gotta study on that just a little bit. So, Mike, you got an investment pick?
I apologize, but I don't. I don't have a pick.
It should be the same as the books you're looking forward to, since you have this new, almost not really. I mean, this has been done before, but the same story from two different viewpoints. But that's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the vantage point idea that could be interesting, and maybe it could turn into something that's put out into other media. So, okay, yeah, thanks for the leading.
Well, I'd already given it, so you'll have to come up with something else. So, Shad, what do we got coming up next?
Next, we are going to do the first 5 of the Fantastic Four, as well as we're going to catch up on what we've been reading. It's been a while since we've done it, so figured it's about time to let you all know what we've been up to.
Okay. And trivia.
And trivia.
Yes.
Got some trivia. So, all right. I did well. I'm just going to warn you, I did well. I only missed one, and I'm embarrassed about the one I missed. So, yeah. So,
well, I got my book the extra one you grabbed. I haven't looked at it. It's still sealed up. Have not even opened it.
Okay. Yeah. I've only read the one page. Read the one page that I've done for the next time we do trivia. So I guess if at some point we want to alternate, we can. Oh no, I'll leave that up to you guys. So you want to, be the giver of the questions and not be on the spot, then put me on the spot every once in a while.
Stump Scott.
Stump the chump. All right, Shad, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where would they do that at?
You can find me on Facebook, usually at Shad Schubert. That's SHAAD SCHUBERT. And I've got a new project that I'm plugging for the holiday season. I've got a little Christmas band called the Ugly Sweaters, and we're playing a couple of gigs when this comes out. You can check us out at St. Nick's in DuQuoin, Illinois on December 23rd, if you're interested in that kind of thing.
All right, Mike, what about you?
Well, we have our shared email account, podcast@bergcomics.com. We've got my direct email, Mike Whoa. M.Atchison90. I've got a few emails, work, everything. M.Atchison90 @gmail.com. And then I'm on Twitter/X at MikeAtchison5.
And I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, BURGcomics.com, with links to my social media, eBay store. And we'll be back soon with another episode.
The Jaguar Dark Horse.
Okay, Mike, I want you to say Jaguar from Dark Horse. What did I say? Dark Horse? Did I say Dark Horse wrong too? Jaguar from Dork Horse. I admit, when I try to say Dark Horse, I have a hard time with the R and the or. So I've said Dark Horse before. It was Jaguar from Dark Horse. I was wondering what that joke was about, actually. So I get what I said. But it's Dark Horse is a hard thing to say, man. Hey, I'm just a poor guy from Rockwood, Illinois. I hate saying it. I didn't know Jaguar sounded wrong. I just hesitated. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything, but sometimes I'm so clueless I don't even get what you're talking about.